when you have several kids, you never expect to have to live without one. I miss everything about him. So it's really rough. And she thought that he was just going outside to the backyard, but he never came back.
We have been passing out flyers, just trying to get the word out because we really do feel like nothing is being done.
Sion's phone was pinging at a registered sex offender's home.
Red flag. What in the world could you do that bad for a person to do that to another person?
He was dismembered.
This was unique and like nothing I've seen before in my time with the state police and working homicide cases.
The chief of police in Kenbridge at the time, on a hunch, went to a spot off C Road and found his body.
How he find it? How did he find it? Whoever did it, God gonna take care of that. I think about quitting school, Grandpa. I said, no, you ain't. I said, no, you ain't. You ain't gonna quit no school. You gonna get that degree. You're working at Popeyes. Look, Grandpa, look, Grandpa. I said, let me hold something, boy. Go ahead on, you don't need nothing. Hurry up, put it in his pocket. But he was a good kid.
The victim in this case is 17-year-old Cion Carroll. He disappeared from his grandmother's home on November 2nd. He was found about 10 days later on November 11th.
She had told me that they had an argument because she asked him to pick his jackets up off the floor, and they had words back and forth. And then he came in the room later on that night and apologized to her once I called him and talked to him and, told him to just hold on. Everything gonna be okay. I'm gonna make sure you're okay.
It was alleged that Cion was not the shooter, but he was involved in a shooting in a part of Henrico County. But that later proved that he was not involved in that. But even with that said, his mom had made the decision to move him in with his grandmother to get him away from Henrico. So she was hoping that the country would provide security for Cion instead of this mess.
And she told me that he apologized to her and everything, but then he went outside and she thought that he was just going outside to the backyard, but he never came back.
When I asked where Cion disappeared from, they point down in that direction, and you could see like a small tool shed out front. And family members were telling me that's where Cion hung out with his pal, his buddy, Brandon, all the time.
One of the phones that he had was an iPhone, but it didn't have service. But it was my oldest son's old iPhone. And he did find my iPhone, and the phone pinged where it pinged to. I went there, nobody saw him, and then I started to receive messages stating that it was a tier 3 sex offender that lived at the home. So it was it's really awkward. So when I went there that Friday evening, they told me that he wouldn't have a reason to be down there. They don't know him, and I'm telling them where his phone is pinging here, so the phone is only used around Wi-Fi.
For months after Sion's body had already been found, the sex offender was actually scrubbed from the registry, and that meaning every time I looked on the sex offender registry for this sex offender, he was not there. He was not listed at that address that he was listed at, or was he in the system at all. The most mysterious thing in this case is how Cion was found.
The chief at that time, as he told me, just had a feeling. So I deem it by the grace of God, he happened to be in the 200 block here of Seaway and came upon this area.
How he find it? How did he find it? He was the only one out there.
I mean, even if I lived in Lunenburg, I don't think I could find that spot.
Why did he resign?
It's a good question. I don't know. No one knows why he resigned, except I guess the town manager. So his body was found dismembered at several joints. He was shot multiple times. Sion's case is a very high-profile case that happened in this community, but when investigating his disappearance and his death, we learned more about a dark cloud that seems to have been hovering over this small town for a long time, and there's been several deaths that are in question in that area, and all of them are centered around one area of Lunenburg County.